Poverty a crime? In this city, it isn't just struggle. It's priced, packaged, and sold with interest. Nadira stands at the edge of the welfare line, watching it coil around the corner like a waiting list for breath. Faces pinched with fatigue. Paperwork sags in tired hands. An old woman clutches a wrinkled voucher, as if warmth alone might erase the ink. A young mother shifts her child from arm to arm, whispering promises she hopes won't break. Nadira's thin coat frays at the cuffs. To most eyes, she's another shadow in a line that grows longer each month. But she didn't come to plead. She came to study. Every glance, every smirk, every dismissive lift of a chin, she stores them like an accountant logging debt. 8 months ago, they discarded her. Job gone, dignity shelved. Today, she returns not as prey, but as hunter, coaxing the man who once used her as cover into daylight. Fresno's heat presses down. Roosevelt Heights lies open like a wound. Broken roads, peeling walls, signs hustling cheap rooms that feel like jokes told too softly to be laughed at. Her apartment advertises its price. The ceiling wears long water stains. The plaster curls like brittle skin. Sound seeps through everything. The cough next door, the broken fan, the door that slams and never gets fixed. She twists the faucet, a hollow groan. No water. Another reminder that basic needs here are leverage. She rations from a bottle and sets it down like guarding gold. At the corner market, she counts coins, not bills, into her palm. The vendor's face stays flat as she weighs bread against milk and chooses milk without apology. Hunger isn't a mistake here, it's a currency. Neighbors watch her come and go, eyes measuring. She offers no stories, only routine. A thin coat on the rack, coins in the rent dish, no more, no less. Survival isn't strength, it's discipline. Small choices placed exactly where they belong until invisibility becomes a shield. At the table, warped by damp, she opens her notebook. At the top, she writes one word: discipline. Then the rules. No drinking with neighbors. No late-night conversations that become questions. No sudden rescues, however loud the impulse. Never answer an insult with pride. Pride is a trap. She rehearses her new life like a script. Mornings out, afternoons in. The price complaints everyone makes. Phone off. Name buried. Rent on time, to the coin. She looks like driftwood. She is not. Every detail is chosen. Every silence is armor. On the landing, grease and old smoke hang in the air. A shadow stretches across the concrete. Mason. He moves like the street is on lease to his name. His gaze skims her wrists, her pockets, her stance, cataloging. His tone is easy, the kind that sounds harmless until words land. If you see something strange, you tell me, not anyone else. She lets the sentence sit, shoulders loose. I just buy paper towels. No apology, no spark. He tests her calm with questions about where she stays, how long, rent or debt. She answers trimmed to the bone, ordinary, unhelpful. He smirks, shallow and cold. This block's rough. Remember my name. He walks off. The air stays marked. Safety isn't a right here. It's a loan. Make just set interest rate. That evening, the knock is sharp. Jalen slips in, faded hoodie, scuffed sneakers, playing the cousin who shows up uninvited. He complains loud enough for the hallway to hear. Water pressure, rent, noise. Doors crack open, eyes take inventory. Nadira sighs like this has happened a dozen times. When the audience fades, Jalen lowers his voice. Mason clocked you. You sure you want it this deep? Nadira's eyes stay on the page. I don't need safe. I need close. He leaves at the right volume, boots heavy on the stairs. To the building, their forgettable family. To Nadira, he's cover. Trust here isn't given. It's performed. When quiet returns, she leans on the rail and counts. The old woman in 2B drags her bag of cans at exactly 3. The metal leaves a clock on the stairs. Across the street, the shopkeeper stacks crates with his left hand and flattens bills with his right thumb. Small habit, big tell. At the corner, 2 kids switch shifts, daylight watcher for night watcher, pretending it's a game. The churro cart runs late. Wallets go missing before dawn. Back inside, she writes, 3 p.m. cans, left-hand bills, kids rotate. To anyone else, scraps. To her, threads. Threads map who owes, who watches, who feeds Mason's quiet empire. Information is the only currency that can't be stolen, and she's getting rich. One dusk, the street holds its breath. She hears sneakers rasp before she sees them. The alley buzzes. Malik stands hunched, a boy too thin for the shadows around him. A man twice his size presses a crisp 20 into his palm. Just a small job, the man says, kindly wrong. Quick and clean. Malik's fingers close clumsy over the bill. Nadira's jaw tightens. Every instinct pulls toward him. She bites her lip until metal touches tongue. Discipline. She stays still and takes notes. Time, place, faces, hating the stillness, trusting it more than heat. The shot splits the block. One crack. Plaster coughs off the wall. Not a kill shot. Theater. A warning dressed in gunpowder. Feet scatter. Malik vanishes down the street, clutching his jacket. No chase. They don't need one. The sound did the work. Fear stamped into the pavement for everyone to step over tomorrow. Later, she writes one line. The gun is out of the holster. They're afraid to lose grip. That crack isn't hers. It's Mason's. The next night brings a different message. Headlights bleed through her blinds and stay. A patrol car idles at the curb, engine purring like a threat held in the throat. Light drags across her wall, slow and patient. No knock, no words, just the stare. Neighbors peek and retreat. Everyone understands. This isn't protection, it's possession. She sits back down, breath even, and writes, they want me afraid. Underneath, 3 slashes instead of words. Fear isn't on her list. Routine is. She checks water bottles, locks, signals with Jalen. The car lingers, then slides away, leaving exhaust and the aftertaste of borrowed power. Jalen returns late, dust on his shirt, eyes quick. They're watching, even when nothing happens. She hands him water. Then we give them nothing to see. No shortcuts, straight home, no favors, no extra words. He wants to argue. Her look closes the door. After he leaves, she marks lines instead of sentences, bars across the page. Their silence is a weapon. Hers is armor. Afternoon smells like fried onions when misses the wire. Laverne shuffles out with a paper bag. She doesn't meet Nadira's eyes. Leftovers. Eat it before it spoils. Not charity, code. Nadira nods and accepts the weight. Inside, cornbread, beans. Simple food that tastes like recognition. She writes 2:30 p.m., cornbread, trust crack forming. The note looks cold. Her hand lingers anyway. The stairwell lights flicker that evening. Malik appears, a basketball too big in his arms. He hesitates. Miss Nadira, were you ever scared of the dark? The honesty stings more than any threat. She thinks of blackout nights when quiet brimmed with eyes. Sometimes, she says, but fear doesn't last if you learn where the light switch is. His grin is crooked and sudden, like a door unsticking. He bounds away louder than before. She doesn't write this one down. Some truths don't need ink. Morning brings theater again. Jalen slams her door, complains down the stairwell about rent and broken pipes. Doors crack open. Nods, sighs, the building slots them into a familiar story. When the watchers retreat, Jalen murmurs, "You sure this works?" She closes her notebook. Believability is protection. He shrugs and goes. She notes, noise at 8 a.m., ears engaged. Camouflage isn't always quiet. Sometimes it's well-timed chaos. Patterns thicken. The churro cart's lateness syncs with missing wallets. The shopkeeper never counts with his right hand. The kids rotate corners like shifts on a clock. Alone, harmless. Together, a web. At the center, unseen but certain, Mason. She traces his two lives. Daylight swagger in a gated street, manicured hedges, security signs that smile with teeth. Night patrol in Roosevelt Heights, flicker lights, rusted locks, rules that change with who pays. Money moves one way. He is order to the rich, debt to the poor. To her, he's a target. Each page tightens the rope. The first clear tear in the curtain comes at a community fund pop-up. Paper banner, glossy sedan, polished suit. The man shakes Mason's hand and talks about playgrounds and lighting. Cameras would love the angle, but the real scene plays when they turn their backs. Envelope shifts hands. Smile lingers too long. No receipt, no witness needed. The shopkeeper glances from behind glass. A boy on a bike pushes off, eyes down. Everyone understands the price of peace for your storefront. Nadira writes the license plate, the time, the phrase, underlining it twice. Here, safety is for sale, and the vendor is also the enforcer. She follows the pen until the paper nearly tears. The system isn't built on rules. It's built on silence, collected like rent. Breaking it will take two things she already owns: patience and proof. The next week, the pressure changes shape. The tap runs dry beneath a crooked maintenance sticker with no number. A thin scratch appears across her front window, straight and deliberate. By evening, a patrol car idles with lights off, engine on, presence heavy. No knock. Same message: we see you, we can reach you. Nadira sits at the table and stops writing sentences. A line for the water, a line for the window, a line for the car. Marks stack until the page becomes a wall. Jalen returns with his voice shaking. They're turning up the heat. Maybe we should. No, she says. Fear isn't in the plan. Routine is. Bottled water under the sink, reinforced locks, safe routes home. Her voice never rises. He swallows his protest. Intimidation is their tool. Consistency is hers. 2 nights later, he stumbles in, lip split, shirt dusty. A crumpled note. Tell your aunt, don't be curious. She cleans the cut with salt water, hands steady while his shoulders quake. Which alley? Which hour? Which voice? A laugh. Heavy shoes. Cheap liquor. She records it all. Water, window, car, now flesh. Escalation isn't a deterrent, it's evidence. 3 thick marks on the page. The phone rings at midnight. We know who you are, a voice rasps and ends. In the window, she meets 2 faces, Nadira and the agent she buried beneath borrowed clothes. Raina belongs on paper. The badge stays in the drawer. Discipline holds the line. She writes nothing. Some truths are too sharp for paper. In the alley, Mason stops 2 teens and unzips their backpacks without consent. Loose bills scatter. He pockets what he wants, waves them off. The vendor sees. The shopkeeper's wife sees. No one speaks. Silence pays its tax. Hidden behind rusted bins, Nadira marks the time. Left hand takes, right hand commands. Habits are signatures that don't need ink. She approaches the boys softly. Names? Class? They answer, voices thin. She writes only what matters. Rage presses against her ribs. She closes the book. One day, the witnesses will trade silence for testimony. Celia Grant meets her at a diner no one notices. Men like Mason only fall when they think they've won, Celia says. Let him believe he owns you. Give him rope, then step back. 3 rules, clean as commandments. Keep discipline. Stay alone enough. Pull the pin only when the system sees the whole board. Nadira nods, knowing the cost. That night, she leaves faint signals, a mislogged payment, a casual slip. Bait. The streets smell like counter-surveillance before the message arrives. Meet canceled, changed. 2 words, no reason. Mason's crew scatters and watches instead of gathering. A whistle, a fake call with searching eyes. She moves with the shoppers and writes 2 words, mole present. The board has more pieces than she counted. Rain slicks the pavement when Mason studies her under a broken awning. His gaze snags on the chain at her throat. "You look familiar," he says, polite and sharp. She answers with stillness. He laughs and walks on. She exhales and underlines a new entry. Neck chain. Potential tell. Malik is next. A crisp 20. Just an errand. Hunger pulls faster than fear. From the far end of the alley, she watches the decision close around him. Saving him burns her cover. Letting him take the bill tightens his leash. In her head, she writes, Malik, first contact. On paper, youth recruitment, documented. Her hand shakes as she closes the book. Discipline steadies what sympathy can't soothe. Later, Mason orders a spectacle. Show him who's in charge. Laughter ripples. Nadira lifts her hand as if to strike and stops short. The room stalls. Hunger replaced by confusion. Mason smirks, convinced. The boy sees what he needs, a seam in the script. She notes controlled defiance, registered. Every gesture now cuts 2 ways. Submission for Mason, doubt for the young. That night, Jalen breaks. We're playing with lives. We're caging him with his own rules, she answers. Before fear finds more words, her phone lights. 11 p.m. Scrapyard. Alone. 7 words, all blade. Jalen whispers, a setup. She doesn't disagree. Then we follow the plan. The scrapyard stinks of rust and oil. Mason holds out an envelope heavier than cash. Names, dates, numbers disguised as payment. Want in or want out? He asks. She says nothing. Her silence is the price he can't pay. A small touch at her glasses, signal sent. Boots thunder from the fringe. Commands crack. The envelope falls to dirt. For the first time, his armor shows skin. The unwind is methodical. Phones that issued orders now pin crimes to timestamps. Accounts that swelled become maps of corruption. Witnesses choose voice over quiet. Selah's line arrives true. Silence ends here. The case walks out of her notebook and into evidence logs. Court doesn't bend to a smirk. Excuses fray against paper, pattern, and witness. The gavel lands clean. Remand. Cuffs click. The smile disappears in the sound. Roosevelt Heights breathes. Mrs. Laverne wraps her mug in trembling hands. Malik's dribble rings bright. Doors crack open not to measure threat, but to greet air. Nadira walks without badge or title. Recognition lives in nods and unlocked glances. Under fluorescent lights, recruits wait, collars stiff, eyes alert. Some wear a badge to be obeyed, she says. Some to serve. You will choose. No slogans, only rules that keep people alive. Write reports like a jury will read them. Never trade silence for convenience. Measure a stop by who leaves safer. If fear is your first tool, you will never earn trust. Routine can be armor, not an excuse. Power is simplest when abused, hardest when shared. That night, the streetlight flickers and holds. She adds one last line to the crowded pages. Silence used, not owed. Then she closes the book. A message from Sela buzzes. On to the next board. She smiles without softness. Work doesn't end, it moves. She stands a breath in the dark. Fear visits, as it always will. She finds the switch. Light returns. Ordinary. Enough. Outside, Roosevelt Heights keeps breathing. Inside, so does she.